No, the question was, how would the zoning ordinance rewrite affect Kensington, which very recently had a sector plan adopted with a sectional map amendment. The master plans that were written recently, during the process of writing the zoning code rewrite, were written with this in mind, so that the recommendations were, they obviously couldn't recommend zones that don't exist yet, but most of the zones that were put down, they used the CR zones. I don't know if there are any commercial zones left in Kensington. I think it was all zoned to CRT, so, and some CRN, so that just stays the way it is. Zone has always been to give property owners an option if they find that the zone that was applied to their property after the last master plan doesn't allow them to do what they want to do. Yes, the property owner in Kensington, they could do it now. There's nothing to prevent them from doing it now. They are less, there might be some, might be a little harder if there's just been a master plan adopted. They really have a lot of strength. And so if somebody is going to ask for rezoning right after a sector plan or master plan has been adopted, and what they're asking for is not consistent with the master plan, they're very unlikely to get it. Now, sometimes, I don't know if this is the case in Kensington, but sometimes a sector plan or a master plan, which are the same thing, by the way, just a sector plan covers a smaller area, might recommend a floating zone. It might say, we're going to leave this zone R90, but if someone wants to develop it, it would be appropriate for the CT zone, which is a zone that allows for commercial uses on the edge of residential. Now, that probably wasn't done in Kensington because it's a very recent sector plan. But, you know, in other areas, there certainly are recommendations like that, and so that supports getting a rezoning. Now, in Kensington, I'm not sure if there are any recommendations for floating zones. So it would be harder to get it. Now, I know that you've just started reading this, but so I will point out to you something really important about the floating zones. In addition to the prerequisites, you should look at the findings that are required, and those are on page 8-6. They're in a different section of the code. There are different procedures, and those are the meat, really, of what the district council has to decide before they can decide whether to apply to grant a rezoning. And that has to do with compatibility and furthering the public interest and conforming to the master plan and meeting the intent of the zone. So those things are not in the prerequisites, they're in the findings.
Any response from Julie or Mary?
Well, I sound like a broken record. I think you can hear me. Per usual, the finding requires only that the proposed floating zone substantially conform to the master plan. There is a compatibility requirement, but it's the floating zone be compatible with approved and adjacent development in the neighborhood, but there's nothing that suggests that it has to be compatible with surrounding residential properties. The neighborhood and the adjacent development could be commercial development across the street, or could certainly include commercial development.
But that's the language that is now in the zoning ordinance, and the neighborhood is defined with great care by the hearing examiner to include all of the properties that would be affected. It It's a concept that has been established under case law over the course of many years. And I've heard it best described by a land use planner who said it's sort of like dropping a pebble in a pond, and you watch the ripples that are caused by that pebble, and they're going to be biggest right close to the pebble, and then they're going to get lesser and lesser as you go out. And so that's how the hearing examiner, they start with a recommendation from the planning board and staff, and then they listen to the expert that the applicant may bring in, and they'll listen to the community if the community has a different feeling about what the neighborhood should look like, and then they just specifically say the neighborhood goes from this street to that street, or there might be a natural feature that forms the boundary, or a park, and they would, you could just look at all of the zoning histories, zoning cases over the last 50 years, and you will not find a single one that has the neighborhood defined as just the commercial area across the street. It's just not the nature of that process, which is quasi-judicial.
Let me give Peggy Dennis the last question. I'll make a couple final remarks.
Yeah, I'm Peggy Dennis from Potomac, and there may be one or two other people out here that don't live in the down county, so I'd like to ask